Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the ABC podcast. My name is Alex and I am joined once more by my co-host, Brandon the Narc Park.
That is so bad. Like, I can't even... You know what? No. I'm not gonna get into this. You know what? New beginning, new year. I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna hold in my anger. So
There you go.
whatever. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is off to a great start.
Isn't it always?
No, I've been okay. Mostly I've just been playing a lot of Zelda last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished listening to the last week's episode yesterday, and I was talking about how I was about halfway done with Zelda, and now I'm about 85% done. So yeah, I put in a lot of time in the past week, which is probably not a good thing because I've got a lot of other stuff I need to do, but it's okay. On Wednesday, for those of you who don't live in Houston, it rained really, really bad.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
And I actually got flooded. The way I go to work got flooded. I couldn't get to work, so I just stayed in my apartment all day and played Zelda. Yep. And then I watched American History X, but we'll talk about that later. So
I really don't want to talk about that movie.
we have to.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we really do.
Can I just leave in that segment?
Well,
You can talk. You can talk by yourself.
I could.
I feel like you could, honestly,
I mean, but you already watched it, so why don't you want to talk about it?
because it's well, whatever. Just you know why I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Just let's keep going.
Okay. Anyway, what have you been up to?
Class started for me on Thursday, which is such a weird day of the week to start.
I know, right?
I don't know who did this or why, but that's the day it started.
Mm.
And Thursday is the day where I have the most classes. So I have class, so I have a class at 9:35, and class like right after that. And then at 2:00 I have like a class that goes for about two almost 3-ish hours.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of the day, I took a 5-hour nap after that.
Solid.
Yeah. Then I went back to work at the desk. So it's my life. It's my life.
Cool beans.
Just work, study, work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
clubs, ministry, work.
You live an exciting life.
You know what? After the car accident, I'm okay with getting back into the repetitive nature of things. I'm okay with like dull for a little bit. I think I've had enough excitement for my life.
Fair enough.
But I realized that due to some things, on Monday I'm gonna get a free medical checkup. So
That's exciting.
I never had that happen before.
Okay. Man, I haven't been to the doctor in like 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, I'm probably dying.
I haven't been to the dentist in like forever.
Yeah, same.
I don't have dental.
I do. I just don't go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a cavity.
Ew.
And so I'm just putting it off.
Did you ever watch Ozzy and Drix?
Yeah.
The cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see when Hector, the boy they live in, he had a cavity? So Ozzy and Drix had to fight that?
I don't remember. That was so long ago. The only ones I remember are the ones where he had lice.
Oh, I remember that.
And the one where they're trying to kill a pimple because it was picture day.
Oh, I do remember that one too.
Yeah, and then I remember they shot toothpaste at it
Mhm.
because they said like whatever chemical like kills the whatever
That's right.
makes a pimple. And so then I tried that one time and it didn't work. So
Really?
yeah, PSA, I guess.
It's funny though.
Don't trust cartoons for medical advice.
My brother, like, he has a little bit of acne,
Uh-huh.
so my mom just like one day just used almost half a tube of toothpaste
Really?
and just like, yeah,
Did it work?
kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I did it wrong then, because I think it wasn't like out of the tube. Like I'm pretty sure, like when I was like brushing my teeth, I decided to try it and use that. So maybe my spit like diluted it or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was pretty gross. I should have said that. Whatever. So we've got a fun show in store for you. Maybe. Yeah. Esther's probably gonna get really down, but whatever. No unboxing this week, unfortunately. The next Smuggler's Bounty box is due to ship sometime this week, I do believe.
We've been doing quite a few unboxings, though.
Yeah. But, so hopefully next week we have that to look forward to. But in the meantime, we will get into our first segment for this week, which is the ABCs of Geekdom segment. It's my week to pick. So, Brandon, do you remember what we did for our very first letter D for the ABCs of Geekdom?
Yes, I did.
And that was?
Drogon.
Yes. And so this week I thought it would be fun to talk about his namesake, who is, of course, Khal Drogo.
Okay.
The husband of Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, yada, 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 yada. He's a cool dude.
He is. Where do you want to start?
They are the OCP, if you're familiar with that term.
I do, actually.
Yeah. So Khal Drogo is a Khal of... So a Khal is the leader of a Colossal, which is essentially... It's just a group or a band of Dothraki people, mostly warriors, but, they also have their women and children and all that good stuff. And the Khal is the leader, and it's not like a birthright title. It's claimed by the strongest man in the Colossal. He is supposedly the greatest Khal to have ever, or maybe not the greatest, but one of the greatest. The Dothraki have this tradition of every time, if they lose a battle, they have to cut their hair off or their ponytail braid.
Because they braid their hair by tradition.
And his hair, I forget exactly how long it's supposed to be. I know they describe it in the books. They probably say it in the show too. But he's never lost a battle, so he's never had to cut his hair. So it's like super duper long. He's also got a kicking beard.
He does, yeah.
So anyway, at the beginning of the series, I guess this is going to be Game of Thrones spoilers. It's early on, so...
Right. It'll still be a spoiler.
It's still spoilers.
Just a one-season spoiler.
So we get introduced to Daenerys and her brother Viserion. They are in hiding, not in Westeros. They're across the Narrow Sea in... I forget the name of the country. The outside of Westeros.
Essos?
Was it Essos?
It's like near the border of Essos. So.
Anyway, but they are being protected.
Either that or they're in the Free Cities. One of those.
Yeah. Like I said, like outside of Westeros, it all kind of blends together for me a little bit. But anyway, so they are hiding out at this dude's like palace, I guess. And we come to find out that Viserion has arranged a marriage between Daenerys and Khal Drogo.
Did you say Viserion?
What did I say?
I think you said Viserion.
Oh, yeah. Viserys, sorry. Viserion is the name of one of her dragons. Yeah, okay, you're right. Thank you for correcting me. So Viserys arranges this marriage. She's not happy about it, but she feels like it's her duty to do what her brother says because he's her king and her brother, and she wants to help him reclaim the throne, which is the reason why he did it, because by creating this alliance through marriage, Khal Drogo will lend Viserys his Colossal as a part of his army to help reclaim the throne of Westeros. They get married. There's not much to say about it, really. I don't even remember if they showed the ceremony in the show at all.
Not really.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the, I guess the party-ish.
Yeah, I know they talk about it because there's this one line that I believe it's Ser Jorah who says that a Dothraki wedding is considered dull unless there's at least 3 deaths.
In the books or in the show?
I thought it was in the show.
I think in the show it's the guy that...
What guy?
The guy who's giving them asylum.
Maybe. Anyway, somebody says that, so yeah. I don't remember if there's a ceremony. Anyway,
but it just shows how like hardcore the Dothraki are.
True. So anyway,
you think your family is bad at weddings?
So that first night, Khal Drogo, who doesn't speak the common tongue, by the way, he only speaks Dothraki, which Daenerys does not speak yet. he takes her to his tent and he has his way with her. And Daenerys is not happy about it. So basically she feels like she's been sold off essentially as a slave. She's being mistreated by her new husband and things are just all kind of looking down for her. But slowly as time goes on, she falls in love with him. Like she starts developing real feelings for him. It's been a long time since I've seen season 1, so I don't really remember, but I don't feel like they do a good job of explaining why in the show she starts developing these feelings for him.
Kind of like one of her handmaids teaches her how to make Drogo more, I guess, compliant to her when they're doing the deed.
Right.
And I think slowly but surely that she kind of sees that the Dothraki, even though they're incredibly ruthless people, they're not without their own set of morals. Like they're not monsters. And she kind of sees that Drogo as you're right, they don't portray it as often, but you can see small hints here and there, like him genuinely caring about Daenerys.
So anyway, eventually they do actually like have a good relationship. Actually, out of all of the relationships in the show, I would say theirs is one of the most sincere. Which isn't really that much a reflection on their relationship so much as how bad most of the other relationships are, but that's a different story, I guess. So anyway, so then she gets pregnant, and they go to Vase Dothrak for the old women of the Dothraki. They have a name, the Doshkaline, is that what it is? Yeah, the Doshkaline. They like examine her, I guess, and they determine that their son is supposed to be the fulfillment of this prophecy. They call him, in the common tongue, it's the stallion who will mount the world. Basically, he is going to conquer the whole world. And so Daenerys is like, yeah, right on. And then what happens? Let's see. She eats the horse's heart. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be all cows' wives are supposed to eat this heart. It's heart of a horse. So I guess we didn't mention this, that the Dothraki are
horse lords.
Yes.
So their entire culture revolves around riding horses.
Yeah, and they're nomadic. They have a holy city called Vase Dothrak, but other than that, they don't really have encampments. They kind of just move around
from settlement to settlement. Yeah.
And so by eating the heart of this horse, it's supposed to give her the strength and make the baby strong or whatever. So she does that. That was pretty intense. And
that thing was huge.
Yeah.
Apparently in real life, the thing was made of like a mixture of like the same thing you put into gummy worms. So yeah, imagine, and just like filled in with like fake blood and all that stuff.
That still doesn't sound.
I know. Like, I think the Emilia Clarke ended up throwing that up for real.
I believe it. But anyway, so, and also I might be getting my timetable mixed up here. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen season 1, but at some point, Khal Drogo kills Viserys, which was
it's actually, you're right. It's sometime after, so they're still in Vase Dothrak.
Okay. So that is the most satisfying death in the whole series.
I don't know about that. I think in season 1.
For me, that is.
Really?
What, you think Ned's death?
What?
Who are you going to say?
I said in season 1, like that was one of the most satisfying
for me, it is.
I have some people in that show was far more satisfied when they died. Like, I was ready for Viserys to die by, I don't know what episode he dies in. But there are also plenty of people in the rest of the series who I want to die. So, okay, maybe that just says for the characters as a whole. Like, I'm waiting for the die. I'm still waiting for Cersei to die. So
true.
But, I mean, I will agree with you that, like, his death was, though, extremely satisfying.
Yeah. So anyway, Viserys, if we didn't already kind of imply it, I'll just say it explicitly. He is a huge jerk. He is entitled and pompous, and he thinks that
abusive.
Yeah, very abusive. He thinks that he owns everything. He's constantly calling himself the dragon and how he's the rightful king of Westeros, which, I mean, technically he's right, but also I don't think...
He'd be a terrible ruler.
No, definitely. But I mean, like in England, like when somebody usurps the throne with somebody else, I mean, their progeny then have the claim to the throne, not the progeny of the person who was ousted.
But then like, that's the problem, though, that I guess back in those times, there's always the issue with, like, once you take the throne from somebody, do the old people even have a claim to the throne? And you know, that happens a lot of times in history when somebody conquers an area and they take that area, they say like, oh, you no longer have the claim to the throne. But the people who were conquered were like, well, no, we were just unjustly taken away. So it's that really strange like conflict dilemma.
So I don't know if you would call Viserys the rightful king.
Oh, definitely not.
But I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of besides the point. So anyway, so then so Viserys comes into the tent. He's super drunk, and he starts talking about how he wants to go back to Westeros to take the Dothraki army with him to start try and conquer or take back the throne from the Baratheons. And he keeps talking about how he wants his crown. And so Khal Drogo says, you want a crown, I'll give you a crown. So he takes some piece of gold, I forget what it was exactly.
I thought it was something from his belt. It could be wrong, but I feel like it was something from his belt. He just throws it into a pot. Lets it sit there for a minute, melts really quickly, and then he has his men. What are the Death Riders? Is that the
it?
Blood Riders.
Blood Riders. Yeah, he has them hold Viserys, and then he just takes it and he pours it all over him.
Which is such a cool scene.
It was really cool. And then the creepy part is that Daenerys is just sitting there, like staring at him with this weird, like dead-eyed stare that she does, and she says he wasn't a dragon because fire can't kill a dragon.
Which is a really cool line.
It was a cool line.
It was such a cool line.
So anyway, then now that they're free from Viserys's whims, they kind of just go off to keep doing their thing, their Cal and Khaleesi thing, and then they get into a skirmish with, I forget who. Is it another Colossal, or is it just...
No, they invade a village.
Okay.
And then
he gets nicked by an arrow, right?
No, Daenerys, because you know the Dothraki always have a reputation of raping women,
right?
So Daenerys refuses. She doesn't want that to happen. So she takes a bunch of women under her care, and she stops this one Dothraki rider. His name is Maego, I think. And he was going to have his way with this woman, and she says no. And so they go settle this dispute with Khal Drogo. And Drogo says that this is the custom, this is the way we do things. And then Daenerys says, well, let me change it. Let them be under my protection. And any Dothraki man that wants to be with them, they can take him on as a wife. And of course, you know, Drogo's like, yeah, sure. But you know that he'll do anything that Daenerys says.
Right.
And
sorry. Can I interrupt real quick? So another thing we forgot to say is that they have these... cute nicknames for each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is like a Dothraki thing or just the two of them thing, but she calls him her sun and her stars, and then he calls her the moon of his life, which is like,
oh my gosh, cute. Is that what you're gonna call Robin?
No, she hates Game of Thrones. Like,
really?
She doesn't just not like it, like she actively dislikes it. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's just because she hasn't seen it. I keep trying to talk her into it. She won't do it. Whatever.
So Maego at that point, he calls out Khal Drogo and says that you are no Khal if you're being bossed around by this foreigner. And of course, Drogo ain't gonna let that slide in his hood. So he challenges Maego, and Maego tries to hit him. Well, he does. I won't say he hits him. Drogo just kind of straight up walks into his sword, and like a true like hardcore champ, he just like pushes the sword into his chest. I'm like, damn. And then after that, he tries to kill him, but it doesn't work, and Drogo just rips out his tongue.
Okay, I honestly don't remember any of that.
It was such a cool scene.
I believe it. Yeah, so then Daenerys kind of like patches him up, and they kind of forget about it, and then he gets infected, his wound gets infected, and he dies. Well, he's dying, and so then Daenerys begs this woman that she saved from Mago, and because she's like a shaman type of, like a witch doctor. Yeah. And she says, can you save him? And she says, yes. And she says, do it. And she says, I'll do anything, or I pay any price or something like that. And she says, okay, I will. And then she takes him into the tent, and Daenerys is outside, and she hears him like screaming bloody murder. And then it's done, and he's still alive, but he's like lost his soul, or like his mind, or
he's a vegetable.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, poor Khal Drogo.
Yeah,
this is the way he goes out.
Yeah, it was really not just sad. Like, I felt for Daenerys, but it was also like really anticlimactic, which I guess is kind of the point, that for him to not die like a quote unquote honorable death, like a Dothraki warrior should. Like, he just kind of he dies from an illness. Like, that's really lame way to go. And so while I get that whole juxtaposition of him being the greatest Khal ever and not dying in battle, just dying because he got hurt a little bit and he got sick from it, I get that, but it was also like kind of unsatisfying for the viewer. But also really emotional, so I guess that's kind of a balance. And then Daenerys kills him out of mercy, which, with
the pillow.
Yeah, you know, we will talk about euthanasia here. Well, that's a whole other topic. I mean, the letter E is next week.
Oh my gosh. Do you miss Khal Drogo?
I do. Yeah, he was really cool. He's big. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, when in season 6, when she goes back to the Dothraki. Yeah, and they mentioned Khal Drogo a bunch of times. I didn't realize how much I missed him. Yeah, and then when she kind of redoes his speech, when do you remember when she was going to be assassinated by that one guy with the wine? Yeah. And then so he makes a promise to her to go to Westeros and tear down the stone houses and kill the men in the iron suits. And she kind of does that speech again when she's on Drogon talking to the Dothraki. Yeah, it just came to my mind that I really miss Drogo.
Yeah. So Khal Drogo was portrayed by an actor named Jason Momoa. I'm not super familiar with his work outside of that. I mean, obviously he's going to be playing Aquaman in Justice League, and Aquaman movie, which, I mean, we haven't seen enough of him yet for me to pass judgment. Personally, just based on what I've seen so far, I'm not a huge fan, just like design-wise, but I'll probably get over it.
I like the design. I think it matches him pretty well. I mean, there's some incarnations of Aquaman that look pretty similar to that, though.
I guess.
Have you ever heard Jason Momoa talk? Like, not his Khal Drogo voice, but
I have.
It's so like, it doesn't really match his appearance. Which, I mean, I'm not one to talk at all, but like, he has a really laid back kind of surfer kind of voice, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, there's this one time when he went on Conan.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
with Betty White.
Yes.
That was uncomfortable.
That was funny though.
It was, but it was uncomfortable. P.S. Happy birthday to Betty White.
That's true.
Yeah. Is there anything else to say about Khal Drogo? I mean, I don't want to talk about Daenerys. Yeah. Really, outside of that, because I feel like we've already done a ton of spoilers. I don't want to talk about what happens to.
Can you speak Dothraki?
No.
You can't speak Dothraki.
No, not at all.
I saw a video when he was at a con, and this girl came up to him. And she's just started talking to him in Dothraki. And he was just like, oh my god. Yeah,
no, there's this one episode of The Office where Dwight teaches Aaron how to teach to speak Dothraki. That was weird. No, if I was going to choose to learn a fictional language, it would definitely be Hylian.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever, was it funny to you in season 6 when the Dothraki come and save Marine?
Sure.
I thought it was funny just because they always attack cities and lay siege to cities, and this one time they actually saved the city.
True.
Without killing civilians.
About that, yeah. Okay, well that is Khal Drogo and the letter D for this week. So, do you want to do some corrections?
Do I ever?
No, but you also don't have a choice.
I actually do. I could get you kicked out right now.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
But I won't.
No, you're too kind.
for now.
All right, so our first correction, and this is one that we haven't had to make in a long time, and I truly apologize to the listeners and to Brandon because I know he's about to get mad at me, but we forgot to plug our social media accounts last week.
Come on, really?
So you can follow me on Twitter at AtariAlex.
Don't do it now.
You can find Brandon's Twitter username in the description for my Twitter handle. If you want to, you can find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages there, and you can subscribe to both so that you never miss an episode. And we'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us an iTunes review. That would be super duper neat. But yeah, that's where you can find us on social media. Okay, next correction is actually not from last episode. This is from 2 episodes ago when we were talking about DuckTales, or the DuckTales reboot, I should say. And this correction actually comes from a listener, Kenzie. Of course, we can always count on her to correct us on accents and such. So thank you, Kenzie. We really appreciate it, or I appreciate it at least. I don't know about Brandon.
Yeah.
But
try leading ministry with her.
Okay.
I'm kidding, Kenzie.
But so we were talking about how David Tennant is going to be voicing Scrooge McDuck in the upcoming DuckTales reboot, and I said that David Tennant is British, and so I hope he has a good Scottish accent. Well, it actually turns out that David Tennant is Scottish. And so I listened to an interview, well, not a whole interview with him, but part of an interview with him that he did with Craig Ferguson, who's also Scottish, and he's not just Scottish, he is like super Scottish.
He's super Scottish.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't come out in kilts or anything, but his accent is... Yeah, it's not like a Scottish brogue accent. Mm-hmm. Not like you can understand him.
Okay,
but I mean, it's
not like Groundskeeper Willie from The Simpsons.
Right. Yeah,
that's like the comparison I had to pull out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's definitely a good one. No, but it's actually really surprising how good he does at a British accent. Because I had zero clue that he was British. And maybe that's just me because I'm an ignorant American. I've never been to the UK, so I mean, like, I can distinguish between a British accent and a Scottish accent, but I couldn't probably tell you if a Scottish person was trying to do a British accent or vice versa.
I'm sure for them, it's like, you know how here for Americans, like, say somebody was from the Midwest, right? And they have to do, like, a Southern accent or, like, accent from up north, like from New Jersey or something like that. I think I would assume it'd be something like that for somebody from the United Kingdom. Like a Welsh accent is definitely different than a British accent or an English accent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Like for a talented actor, sure, but like for just Joe Schmo, I feel like when most people try to do accents, they just go like all the way to the extreme, which makes it pretty obvious that it's not really their accent. So.
But accents are really hard to do.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That's what my acting teacher said. Like he can do a British accent relatively well because he lived in England for a good number of years. But he said that even then, it's hard because just putting the right like stress on vowels and consonants is just a pain in the butt. And apparently that once you get so into it, you kind of forget to get out of the accent sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like I've said this story on the podcast before, but Gary Oldman, who's an actor, he's had tons and tons of roles, but he is British, but he's done everything from American and Russian and like I don't even know what else. Like he just has he's really great at accents. But for one movie, it might have been one of the Harry Potter movies, but I'm not sure. But he had to do a British accent, and he actually had to go to an accent coach to help him regain his British accent because he had, he was all over the place.
He really is a chameleon, like one of the greatest chameleons on film.
Yeah. But anyway, that's beside the point. Should we do the rest of this episode in accents?
No.
Okay.
Nobody's going to want to go through this.
Okay.
Maybe on the episode where we finally have enough to drink, we can do that.
Okay. All right.
Watch, we don't even do like Earth accents. We started trying to speak in alien dialects, like Geonosian.
Maybe. Okay, next correction here is we got to talk about some pop prices. So last week we opened the DC Legacy box from Funko, and I was talking about some of the first pops they ever made were DC pops, and I was talking about how much they were worth relative or valued at on the secondhand market. And I was talking about Aquaman, and I said that he was valued in like the $500 range. Turns out I was actually way off. The regular original Aquaman pop is valued at $105. And the metallic variant is valued at $280.
I still can't even buy those.
No, I'm not saying it's not expensive.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, and then
I hate being poor.
Same. And then on that same note, I was talking about the Shazam pop. I said that was worth about $1,000. But that one's valued at $185 with the metallic variant valued at $530. So, yeah. It's definitely a hefty chunk of change, but not outside of the realm of affordability or anything. Okay, and then I was talking about some salt and pepper shakers that Funko has made because I got some Batman and Robin salt and pepper shaker. And so the ones that they have that I didn't mention are Batman and Joker. They have that. And then Superman and Wonder Woman salt and pepper shakers. And then also I said that there was a Spider-Man and Venom salt and pepper. But it's actually Black Suit Spider-Man, not Venom.
Okay.
And then also, I was talking about how the ones that I got in the box, I wasn't sure which character was salt and which one was pepper. But I actually did open them. I had them on my table. Like I filled them up. Well, actually, I filled up one of them because I didn't have any pepper. I got to buy some at the grocery store. But Robin is the salt shaker and Batman is the pepper shaker.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next we've got a few corrections from talking about the Flintstones. The first one is we were talking about the little alien dude, the green guy. I couldn't quite remember his name. I wasn't sure if it was the Great Gazoo or the Great Kazoo, like kazoo, like the musical instrument that nobody likes. I remember I had kazoo when I was little. I don't know where it is now, but I used to drive my mother insane with that thing.
I believe that. I believe that.
Anyway, so his name is the Great Gazoo. And he's like he's from outer space. He was banished to Earth, sent through time and space back to the prehistoric age. Well, actually, no, let me take that back. The people who write the Flintstones Wikia, so these are like the dedicated fans, they theorize that he was sent through time. But they actually don't know that. And as we all know from Star Wars, you know, something can be a long, long time ago, but they can sell futuristic technology. So, you know, while it's theoretically plausible, that's not necessarily the case. But that's way besides the point. So the Great Gazoo, he's got essentially magic. They never really distinguish whether it's magic or like omnipotent powers.
Okay,
or
the Dark World.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just telling you what I read on the Wikipedia article.
I mean, I believe you. I'm just, you know.
Anyway.
Science, magic, all the same thing.
Yep. So anyway, so then I was talking about Pebbles and Bam Bam getting married and having their own kids, and whether or not, and so I couldn't find a specific reference to the Great Gazoo taking Fred on a trip through time to show him the future, but there's actually, we talked about the spin-off of the Pebbles and Bam Bam, like when they're in high school. There's actually a movie that came out after that show wrapped up where they get married, and then another one where they have kids. And what am I trying to say? The first movie where they get married is called I Yabba Dabba Doo. And the second one where they find out that Pebbles is pregnant, it's called a Hollywood Rockabye Baby. Or, no, sorry, Holly Rockabye Baby. Holly Rock is their analog for Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next thing is So we were talking about Tiny Toons, and I couldn't remember the names of any of the characters.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a ton of characters. Basically, every character from the Looney Tunes has a like miniature counterpart, but they're all called something different. Like, I didn't write this one down, but I thought it was funny. The Tasmanian's counterpart is called Dizzy Devil.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but the main 4 characters are Buster Bunny, Babs Bunny, Plucky the Duck, and Hampton the Pig. And I thought it was funny because Buster is a rabbit, and then in Arthur, his friend Buster is a rabbit. Yeah. What?
Nothing. It's hilarious.
I didn't say it was like laugh out loud funny. It was just never mind. Okay. And then the plot for the Tiny Toons movie we're talking about, because remember I was talking about how they meet the alligator dad with that hilarious bigamy joke. Anyway, so the reason that happens is they are on summer vacation, and so they're leaving their school, and Buster and Babs have a water gun fight, and they somehow manage to flood the school, which creates this river, which takes them like way down south.
That's
and
awesome.
That's where they meet the alligator.
That's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. Also, on that note, I should say that I called him a crocodile, but as we all know, crocodiles don't live in the United States. Only alligators are found in the U.S. outside of zoos. So, yeah.
Like that big one in Florida.
Oh my gosh, that was so crazy.
That thing was terrifying.
That was nuts.
I know. This is why everything in Florida wants to kill you.
Yeah, basically. Okay, and then we were talking about Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, and I couldn't remember quite when that show came out. So the premiere was April 5th, 2010, and then it this doesn't have anything. This isn't a correction. I just thought it was interesting that it ended on the exact same day in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I can't think of any other shows where that's the case. But then again, what do I know? Okay, moving on. We were talking about the movie Paradise because somebody was in that. Somebody was in that movie, I think. Wait, why were we talking about it? Okay, anyway, so we were talking about this movie, and I confused it with another movie. So Paradise is a movie starring Julianne Hough, Holly Hunter, and Nick Offerman.
Ron Swanson?
Yes.
Wow.
And the brief synopsis that I read is that a woman survives a plane crash, and then she has a crisis of faith following her survival. So yeah, it actually sounded kind of interesting to me. It's not like a religious movie or anything.
Right.
It just has like religious aspects, I guess, because I know Nick Offerman isn't into Christianity, so yeah. Anyway, the movie that I was thinking of that I couldn't remember is called Aloha, and you were right. It's Emma Stone, not
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and then so we're talking about weird TV crossovers, right? And I was talking about Mad About You, and the main actress in that show, her name is Helen Hunt, and I don't know why I couldn't think of that. She's not like a super well-known actress, and she doesn't do too much acting anymore, but she's like got a semi-recognizable name. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, now I remember. Okay, next thing is we're talking about Inspector Gadget for some reason. Because that was another crossover. And so the first Inspector Gadget movie stars Matthew Broderick as Inspector Gadget, and then the second movie he was replaced by French Stewart.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then next we're talking about Key and Peele. Oh, because we're talking about Keanu.
Right.
And I accidentally said Michael Keegan Key instead of Keegan Michael Key. So, sorry, bro. And then we talked about him later in the episode because we talked about him being cast in The Predator, and then I got his name right. And yeah, so I don't know what's wrong with me. So many things. Okay, next correction is we're talking about the movie Rocky Balboa. So not the character, the actual movie. And that movie came out in 2006.
Okay.
And I remember going to see that in theaters with my Uncle Kevin. He was in town and he wanted to take us to a movie. That's what we ended up going to see. And I think that was my first Rocky movie. Have you ever seen any of the Rocky movies?
I've never seen a full Rocky movie. I've seen good portions of most of them, but I've never seen a full Rocky movie.
Yeah, so that was the first one I'd seen. Since then, I've seen Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, I think. I've never seen Rocky 3, and I've seen Rocky 4. And I don't think I saw Rocky 5. And then I saw this one, and then I never saw Creed, which I really want to. I heard it was good. But anyway, that's beside the point. So then we were talking about the teaser trailer for the next season of Better Call Saul and how it was a commercial for Los Pollos Hermanos. And then, of course, we started talking about Gus. And we couldn't remember when he was introduced into Breaking Bad. So his first appearance was in episode 11 of season 2.
Okay.
So I forget where we thought. I said like the end of season. I think we decided the end of season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were right.
I know. I said 3, but that's because he has a bigger part in 3.
Right.
I thought, yeah, you were right. Probably the end of season 2.
Yeah.
I actually went back and watched that episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm just like, it's such good acting.
It's
amazing. While I was eating chicken and fries.
How do you feel about Gus's accent?
His accent?
Yeah.
Because, you know what's... what were you saying?
Because in the teaser that we watched, he has no accent. Like, he sounds just like a regular American dude. And in the beginning of Breaking Bad, when he's first introduced, he sounds the same way. And then as they go in, we learn about his backstory. Minor spoiler, I guess. He is... They're from Colombia?
He's Chilean.
In the show?
Yeah, in the show, he's Chilean, yeah.
And what about in real life?
In real life, Giancarlo Esposito, he's half black, half Italian.
Okay. Oh, he's not Hispanic?
No.
Oh, that's a very Hispanic name.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I guess it's kind of not.
Yeah. Whatever.
Anyway. So he's Chilean, but he gets involved with the drug cartels. And I feel like once they start like going back into this whole Hispanic thing, he starts sounding more and more Hispanic as the show progressed. And it always like kind of took me out of it a little bit. Like it's not a big deal, but I just thought it was weird that like sometimes he had an accent, sometimes he didn't.
It's weird because you're right. Because in the beginning, he does have a hint of an accent, and he goes back and forth. Like some parts he sounds just like regular. He's using his regular voice, and sometimes he's using a little bit of an accent. And yeah, by the later seasons, he kind of does have an accent. And I think like when he's talking, most of the times when he's talking to somebody from the cartel, like his accent comes out. So to me, that was just like him like taking away the disguise. He doesn't have to like kind of play the act,
I guess.
In the teaser though, like, I got the feeling that the voiceover was still the actor, but I still heard a little bit of the accent when Gus talked. So that's what I think. Like, again, I'm totally speculating, but for me, the accent was never a problem. It's just like maybe around the 4th season, I was like, when I was hearing him talk, I'm like, does he have an accent? Like, I'm pretty sure he has an accent. Because the first time I saw him the actor was in an episode of Community.
He was on Community?
Yeah. Do you remember the characters?
Which ones?
From Community. Just
so like the main.
Pretty much. Okay. You know Pierce, right? The old guy?
Uh-huh.
He's Pierce's half brother. Like, if you can't watch the episode, it's a really funny episode. But originally he comes on and he's like, Pierce's father he's the agent of his estate or the caretaker. And it just turns out due to some like really weird family connections, him and Pierce are half siblings.
Okay.
So he speaks in his regular voice like that. So when I saw it in Breaking Bad again, just like in and out, and I think it's just the actor's choice of why he did it. And kind of going back to the whole accent discussion, it's hard to do accents. I give him credit for trying. I thought he did a pretty okay accent.
It's believable. But for me, it's just that weird that it goes like in and out. Sometimes.
Yeah, so for me, I think I just like assumed for the point of the story that he just put it on when he try to cover it up, quote unquote, when
Mhm.
he didn't have to. He wasn't around people who knew his real identity, and he brought it out when people he knew the real Gus.
Okay. Okay.
I want some chicken now.
Oh man,
I really want some chicken.
So
yeah. Are you still doing the 30 challenge?
Yeah, I am. Except last night we went to go try out a caterer for the wedding, and we had to eat bad because we had to know if their food is good. And spoiler alert, it really wasn't. So
okay.
Yeah, but we got another one tomorrow. So basically, I'm kind of taking this weekend off. If you want to look at it that way.
Hey, let's do what you need to do. I just want to make sure I don't get food poisoning.
Oh, yeah. Better me than you, I guess. Okay, next thing is we were talking about Woody Harrelson being cast in the young Han Solo movie. Still really excited about that. But we couldn't remember the name of the actor who's playing young Han Solo. Or just Han Solo, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. Anyway, his name is Alden Ehrenreich. Ehrenreich.
I am totally going to forget that name.
Ehrenreich.
Still going to forget that.
Yeah. Okay, then the next thing is we were talking about Sterling K. Brown, who was cast in the Black Panther movie, and I said that he was in The People versus O.J. Brown, which doesn't make any sense at all. Obviously, it meant The People versus O.J. Simpson. So, yeah. That wasn't me being racist. That was me confusing the actor's last name with the last name of O.J. Simpson. So, sorry. Next thing is we were talking about CW Seed because there's going to be an animated Constantine series. That's exciting stuff. And so I was talking about how Vixen was on there, and there's another cartoon or animated DC show on CW Seed that I couldn't remember what it was. That show is called Freedom Fighters: The Ray. As far as I know, it's still not out. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't know. I watched the Vixen shorts. Did you ever watch them?
I didn't.
They were good. They're really short. It's like six. I think it's 6 episodes, like a total of half an hour. So it's really easy to breeze through. So I recommend it if you get the chance or not. Whatever. Okay. Next thing is we're talking about Injustice 2 because that got a release date, and we're going to be talking about that more in just a little bit. Spoilers. But we were talking about Ed Boon, who is in charge of.
I thought we said creative director, right?
Well, we didn't say, but that is the correction.
Oh, really?
His job. No, his job title is creative director of NetherRealm Studios.
Why do I know that?
Maybe you read it on my notes. Okay. I don't know.
He's come up before. I know he's come up before.
Yeah, he has.
Maybe because that's the only thing I know, in video games.
Okay, and then on that note, the publisher of the Injustice game is Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. So yeah. And then we're talking about the number of Injustice characters because we're talking about how many we know are going to be in Injustice 2 so far, and how we wanted to see the cast expand and not shrink for the main game. But anyway, in the base game, so not including the DLC, there were 24 characters, which I think is the number I said last week. I wrote it down as a correction to check on because I couldn't, when I said whatever number I said, when I listened back to it, didn't sound right, but I'm pretty sure I said 24. Anyway, so there's 24 main characters. They added 6 DLC characters for a total of 30. So I would like to see them go beyond that even before DLC. I would like to see maybe 32 characters and then some DLC on top of that. But we'll see. Because they did a bunch of DLC for their most recent game, which is Mortal Kombat X. I want to say they had 8 DLC characters, but I don't know. Okay, and then we're talking about the upcoming Clueless Gamer show, which is a spin-off of Conan O'Brien, or the spin-off of the show Conan, where Conan O'Brien plays through video games and he's really bad at them. And I was talking about if there was an episode where they played some retro games, and there is one, just one. So that was where they played some Atari 2600 games. Now, other than that, I don't know if the other games that he's played were brand new when he played them, But I do know that hasn't played any games other than this one episode. All the games that he played were either on Xbox 360, PS3, or Wii U. Wii U. So the last generation at the earliest. The Switch isn't out yet, so I guess PS3 is still last generation. Yeah. Okay. Next, we talked about The Walking Dead a lot last week, and we were talking about Herschel for some reason.
Because I was talking about when he was introduced in the show. Right.
So his first episode was episode 2 of season 2.
Okay.
So actually a lot earlier than I thought.
Because I think you said season 3.
No, I said season... What? I think you're right. Yeah. But anyway. Okay, and then the last correction for this week, and this one is just really embarrassing. We got ready for Fan Fic Fights, and I called it the ABCs of Geekdom segment.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I listened to that, and I was like, what the heck was wrong with me? Because I was like fumbling over my words. I couldn't remember a bunch of names. I was just like really out of it last week. I apologize. I don't know if I'm doing that much better this week, but whatever.
I think so.
Oh, thank you.
I think you did a good job last week.
Oh, that means a lot to me.
You're welcome.
So that's the end of our corrections for this week. It's probably a little bit early to take a break, but we don't have a ton of news to cover either, so this might be a bit of a shorter episode. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We've got some trailers to watch, and then we're going to come back and talk about news and stuff and trailers. So stay tuned for that. Okay, we are back, and we've got quite a few trailers to talk about, actually. Last week we were talking about how this is the dry season when we don't really get anything too exciting, but we actually got quite a few really good trailers, I thought. So, just want to go in order that we watched them.
Yep.
Okay, if I can remember. So the first one we watched was Power Rangers. I know that for sure. I have really mixed feelings about this trailer. It was good, visually very good. We got more story.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see Bryan Cranston and hear Bryan Cranston. We got to hear just a little bit of
Alpha.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
We saw a little bit more Rita Repulsa. We saw the Megazord for just one brief second. That was neat.
We saw some of the separate Zords.
Yeah. But they actually combined.
Yeah.
So that was all cool stuff. Before I talk about what I didn't like about it, was there anything else that you saw that you liked?
I actually thought that the one scene where, I believe it's the Yellow Ranger, where she says she's saying where she was last night, and we found me and 4 other people found a spaceship, and I think I'm a superhero now. And I think it's her mom that says key in the cup. I thought that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
because I probably in real life I couldn't even make up a lie to say where it was.
So the reason that I don't really like this trailer so much, and the movie in general, is because this is the original 5 Power Rangers.
Right.
There's no it's supposed to be them, but they're giving them this new origin story. And I wish that if they wanted to make it about how Zordon is from space and the spaceship crashed there, and it's not just that they are like they have these powers not just from the suit, but like even outside the suit, they have strength and like super speed and whatever. If they wanted to do that, and I don't have a problem with Power Rangers having that backstory necessarily. I just wish they'd made them different Rangers with different Zords and stuff. That's just me being like a crotchety old man. Like I fully admit that, but
I'm okay with it. I'm compared to some of the other things we talk about when they retcon it. I don't have too much of an issue. I can see where you're coming from, man. Honestly, there's a little part of me that is like that. It just holds on to that. Like, don't change it up like that. Just leave them alone. But at the same time, we've been going back and forth with this movie, and I think I've realized, like, I've reached the point where I'm like, okay, at this point I just kind of have to accept it, and I just kind of need to see how it's going to come out. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a fantastic movie, but I hope it's watchable.
Yeah.
Because I heard the Assassin's Creed movie was terrible. I mean, deep in my soul, I kind of knew that was happening. Like, I was just like holding on to hope just a little bit, and it just didn't follow through.
No, I mean, it looked like it had promise.
Yeah, so,
but...
I just I don't know. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket and stuff like that. So.
Sure. No, yeah, I'm
I feel the same with you. Besides that, I guess everything else is okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
I will admit, like that double kick that Billy does is a little cool.
Oh.
Like when I took Taekwondo, they made us do that, and I could never get it right because I always like lose my balance and fall over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm most likely going to see this.
Yeah.
Probably not with Robin. I don't think I could talk her into seeing it with me. But I have a cousin who's a little bit older than I am. We used to watch Power Rangers when we were little, so I'll see if I can get with him. And
Are you surprised sometimes about like how about the different movies you can kind of convince Robin to go see?
Yeah, sometimes.
Like in the grand scheme of things, just you would never expect her to go watch this with you, but somehow she kind of does, whether it be shows or movies or whatnot.
Yeah, it's I just take it as a sign of love.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I think the next one we watched after that was Colossal. I think that one was next.
We watched American Fable.
Well, but we didn't
which is like I don't really know what to say about that movie. It's like
it looks weird, like kind of interesting, but I don't know if I'll see it.
I didn't understand anything from the trailer, so I think I would have to see the movie to get a better grasp. Yeah. But then we saw with Anne Hathaway, right?
Yeah. So it was Anne Hathaway and I don't know what the guy's name is. He's
Jason Sudeikis.
Oh yeah, him. Yeah. But no, the Kimmy Schmidt's dad or stepdad. I don't remember his name.
Right. Dang.
Yeah, I don't know the actor's name, but
totally forgot about that. I have to go back and watch that show.
He was also in Lincoln.
Right.
But anyway, it's a monster movie. She's in Seoul, so shout out to your people.
Yeah.
And there's a monster attack, and then I guess she blacks out. Anyway, so it's a very short trailer. It's less than a minute long. She realizes that she is controlling this monster. I don't know if she's doing it like consciously or subconsciously. I mean, because there was a point when she's figuring this out, she was aware that she's doing it. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. Like I can't think of any movies that are have this same kind of concept. So it looks funny. It looks interesting. Didn't look too funny. Like they seem like they're trying to go more comedic than anything else. It didn't. I didn't really laugh that much, but maybe they're saving all the funny stuff, which would be like a good thing for trailers to do for once. But yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, and then after that we watched Powerless, I think. Yeah. So there was we talked about a teaser for Powerless last week, and this week there was a full-on trailer. It didn't really tell us too much more than that we didn't already know. Right. We found out that Alan Tudyk is Bruce Wayne's cousin.
Which I don't... I still don't I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, he lost his parents, not his whole family.
Right.
So it makes sense that he has cousins that just never would have connected, Alan Tudyk with that.
Yeah, no, it's strange.
Mm.
But yeah, other than that, we just saw like a couple more inventions,
Right.
some more like superhero carnage destruction. There was a ongoing fight between a hero and a villain, and I couldn't tell who it was. Could you? Yeah, they kind of just panned over it too fast. It was hard to tell. I'm sure somebody out there figured it out, but I don't know. But yeah, again, like it looks funny. I definitely want to watch it.
I actually got some good chuckles out of that trailer, which really surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the invisible jet.
Oh yeah.
And the company slogan.
The kryptonite window.
Oh that thing. Yeah, that was. I mean, they could probably have sold that to Lex Luthor.
Yeah. True. Yeah. But yeah, that's Powerless.
Yeah, so.
And then after that, we watched. Actually, I think this was before Powerless. Whatever. We watched the trailer for Logan. The last trailer, I believe, that's coming. Yeah, because it's coming out pretty soon. Oh, I forgot to say that Power Rangers is coming out in March. I don't know if we knew that already, but now we definitely know. But yeah, anyway, Logan trailer looks about the same as the other trailers. Again, we didn't get too much more. We got some cool action scenes of X-23 kind of kicking butt, so that was neat. We got some curse words. Yeah, other than that, I didn't feel like we really learned too much.
Yeah, you're probably right. Which, I mean, I guess for the sake of the movie going to come out soon, they probably shouldn't have done that. Which, I mean, I'm glad they didn't. So. Yeah. Just a little bit more footage, some more decapitations. It's always nice to see.
Yep.
I've liked the music they've used for this trailer. I don't know why I decided I want to talk about that, but I really like the music that they went for the two trailers and the tone.
No, we didn't talk about the music of the Power Rangers trailer.
Oh yeah, with Kanye West.
Again,
yeah, I'm just like
the same thing with the Assassin's Creed.
It was okay. It did its job. Yeah. It wouldn't have been my first pick, but whatever. But yeah, I really like the music they used for Logan.
Yeah.
And just the overall tone. This one I got like a little bit more of like a hopeful tone, or like more of like a resisting tone from the characters. Like it's not as hopeless, but just I'm excited to see this movie. I think this is going to be a good way to get Hugh Jackman off of a good send off.
Yeah. No, it definitely looks different than any other X-Men movie we've seen, and I think that's probably a good thing. So.
Oh, what was that thing that you said about him holding the X-Men comic book?
Oh, yeah. So there's this part where X-23 has these comic books of the X-Men, and I just... that's too meta for me.
Oh.
I don't know. Because, like, the X-Men are supposed to be secret, and, like, living in a world where there's comic books of heroes who are reading these comic books just, like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Apparently, I saw a rumor on Facebook that the movie that Logan is going to be connected to the universe, but at the same time not going to be connected to the universe.
Okay.
So that might explain why he's holding an issue of, X-Men. Or it could just be the fact that, somebody thought like, oh, let's do something about X-Men. Like, you know how, I don't think they've ever done this kind of in the MCU. They kind of done it like whenever they make merchandise. They kind of did like in Iron Man 2 when that kid has an Iron Man helmet and he's about to blast the drone. Well,
right.
He puts up his hand in front of the drone and Iron Man saves him.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but this one
makes sense.
But that one's like a little bit more like meta. But I mean, spin-offs and like merchandise is always made off of these heroes who are inconsequently, celebrities. So.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. That was just like
too many layers.
Yeah. Okay. We went too deep, like in Inception.
Okay, and so just now we forgot to watch a trailer. Actually, is the second trailer for A Cure for Wellness. So Brandon hadn't seen the first trailer. I already talked about it several episodes ago. You weren't on that episode. That was with Josh from Toy Story Games. Do you have any thoughts about that one?
Okay, well, first off, it looks very freaky, but also very interesting. I want to see where this goes. Just something about old-timey hospitals or asylums just always just makes me very uncomfortable. So that's why that's the season of American Horror Story. I think it was Asylum, right?
Yeah.
I was always like kind of on the edge of my seat, not because I was scared, but just because that environment is always just really, really just, it gets under my skin.
I didn't know you watched American Horror Story.
Bits and pieces. Okay. So I have enough to follow the storyline. Asylum was the one I saw the most of.
Oh, that's my least favorite one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I have to go back and watch the other ones.
The first season is definitely the best.
Okay.
And then season 3 is also really good.
Which one's that one?
Coven.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to know the plot of this movie because the main character, he goes.
Right. So this is from the second trailer.
Yeah, he goes to retrieve somebody.
Because the Martian Manhunter told him to.
Yes, because the voice of the Martian Manhunter from the Justice League is there. He tells him, go get him back. An accident happens, and he gets stuck in the hospital because he breaks his leg. So he kind of goes treatment, explores the hospital, finds out not everything is the way that, not everything is as it seems. And
nothing ever is.
I mean, right? But just the visually, this trailer was really good.
Yeah.
And I liked it. This one, the first trailer was too, but this one I really liked. And I don't know, I kind of want to know what's the whole secret thing. Like, this is an example of a good trailer. Like, has a mystery behind it because it doesn't explain to you the mystery, doesn't try to come off as, like, let's give you the mystery all at once right now, so you just come to the movie just to get the whole experience, which I'm looking at you, Terminator Genesis, but... Yeah, I would actually go watch this movie in theaters. That's how much the trailer has sold me.
Yeah. No, Robin and I both really want to see this movie.
So
yeah, it definitely looks weird.
But in a good way, weird.
Yeah. No, at the same time though, I feel like this could be one of those movies where like there's a lot of build up and the resolution is not what you're looking for.
Probably.
But I mean, we can also be optimistic. Which, if I'm saying that, that means I'm looking forward to this movie.
I mean, it's passed the trailer test, so at least that's the first of something.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Shutter Island?
No, I didn't.
This reminds me a lot of that. So, and I really like that movie. So. Okay, then the last trailer we have to talk about is the newest trailer for Injustice 2. So this was a cinematic trailer. There was no gameplay. We didn't get any character confirmations. I mean, they showed a lot of new characters, which we can then presume are going to be in the game, but that's not a guarantee. The only one we know for sure is Darkseid, but I guess we can get to that in a second. So basically what we saw was there was a narrator, and we find out at the end who that is. We'll get to that at the end. So there's a narrator who's talking about like power and how
unlimited power
and how a good guy can become a bad guy when they're pushed to the brink or whatever, which kind of harkens back to the story of the first game, which we're not going to spoil because it's really, really good. You should play it if you can or watch it if you can't, but I highly recommend it. But yeah, so and then there's just basically just a bunch of fighting between good guys, really. So the new characters that we saw Robin, we saw Poison Ivy, and Bane. Bane! Yes, that's my name.
Speaking of Bane, did you see it on Facebook about people were saying Trump, he copied off of Bane's speech in The Dark Knight Rises? Because he's talking about like how he gave it back to I sent it to you on Messenger.
Oh, yeah.
How he's saying like he was going to give, I don't know what he was talking about, but back to the people. And then the video cuts to Bane talking about how he's going to give back the power to the people. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little chuckle. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Anyway, so we saw Bane, and then the narrator, well, presumably the narrator was...
Probably,
Brainiac.
Which I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's a very different looking Brainiac.
Yeah.
But Brainiac nonetheless. So, Bane was in the first game, but Robin wasn't technically. I mean, Nightwing was, but not Robin. And Poison Ivy wasn't. I think that's a really good choice. I think she could do a lot of cool stuff.
I think so too.
Brainiac was also new. Also really good choice. I think he could do some really interesting things. Yeah. And then not in the main trailer, but afterwards they revealed that you can, if you pre-order the game, you'll get Darkseid as a free additional fighter.
Right, which is cool.
They did the same thing with Jason from Friday the 13th for Mortal Kombat X.
Okay.
So I guess this is NetherRealm's thing. They're like, pre-order the game to get a free fighter, which you can... Or no, sorry, it wasn't Jason. It was Goro, who's a classic Mortal Kombat character. Yeah, so I guess their thing is if they want people to pre-order for some reason. I don't know why, but then you get a free fighter.
It's more benefits.
An extra $5. So
I'm glad they're bringing Darkseid to console because I had the mobile app for Injustice, and you couldn't play as Darkseid, but you could play as Darkseid.
Oh,
I'm
really?
sorry, yeah. Once you beat him, so there was like a Darkseid challenge, and you had to go through these different levels before you could fight Darkseid. And then once you defeat Darkseid, you can play as Darkseid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Darkseid was in the first Injustice game, just not as a fighter. He was in one of the stage transitions.
That's right.
So, I mean, Darkseid's cool, but when you really get down to it, like, his powers aren't that distinguishable from other characters because he has his Omega beams, but Superman has his laser vision, and then he
can't shoot his beams in like different angles. And,
yeah, true. But how's that gonna work in the game?
Maybe if you kind of like run back and forth. Like, I'm not, granted, he can only move left or right, but
well, no, because I mean, like, think about it. If he shoots it and you happen to jump at the same time, if it like went towards you and then shot up, like that would be so broken.
I mean, you never know. Maybe you could only use it a couple of times.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But yeah, this wasn't like a super cool trailer. Like, I thought the very first reveal was really, really cool. And then this was like, it was along those same lines, but it didn't entice me in the same way.
I think this second Injustice game has had trouble doing that. Yeah. Like, just overall.
Yeah.
Like, it's done enough to like make you expect it and be happy for it, but not enough to, pump you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at this point, like, I just want to know like the characters and see super moves and stuff like that. So I'm sure the story's gonna be great because, like I said before, like the story for the first Injustice game is really, really compelling, and so I have faith in them to make another great story. So
so that's what the story, like this trailer did for me. Is like you get excited for the story.
Yeah. But Injustice 2, it's going to be a thing coming out in a few months. I'm excited, even though, like I said last week, I'm not going to get to play it. Unless Michael decides to buy it, then, that would be cool. But, so that's all the trailers for this week. So let's talk about some news, which, like I said before, there's really not much. So the first thing we have to talk about is a rumor that James Cameron and Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool, they are getting together, or maybe getting together to make a new Terminator movie. So, have you watched any of the Terminator movies? Or
I've seen 1, 2, 3. I didn't see Genesis.
Well, there's more than.
And then that. Terminator Salvation and whatever. But I've seen the first 3.
Okay, cool.
Second one's my favorite, by the way.
Yeah, same. So the Terminator franchise has a bit of a troubled history in recent years. Terminator 1 is a classic. I think everybody likes that movie. Terminator 2 is even better.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's like pretty much a universal consensus.
Yeah, definitely.
Terminator 3, I think, is pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, me too. Like, a lot of people crap on the movie, and I don't think it's nowhere as good as the second one, but I liked it though.
Yeah,
especially the ending.
Yeah. And then Terminator Salvation, it's not great, and actually it's not good, but it's not horrible. Like, it doesn't do anything to destroy the series.
I did hear Christian Bale's epic rants when he was on set, and he got mad at like somebody on the crew.
Really? I don't know about this.
Yeah, I think it was like in the middle of a take-in. Somebody from the crew stepped on the set and messed him up, and he just got really pissed off at the guy. So he just kind of went bananas on him.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Terminator Genesis was just a pile of crap. I mean, it was a really bad movie. There's pretty much no redeeming quality. When that trailer came out, like I thought it was interesting. Like the whole
first trailer or the trailer that revealed everything.
The trailer that revealed everything.
Okay.
Like obviously, I wish that had been a secret. But I liked the whole thing about I don't know if this is a spoiler because it is in the trailer, but Skynet takes John Connor and makes him into a Terminator.
Yeah.
And so that concept seemed like it was interesting, but it turned out they didn't make it interesting. So, yeah. Tim Miller, I thought he did a good job with Deadpool. James Cameron, for the most part, I like a lot of his work. So I think there is promise there. Yeah.
Still haven't seen Titanic though, but
I think as long as they do better than Terminator Genesis, which is not going to be hard to do, I think people will be happy with it.
Like, Sarah Connor didn't call on her dragons to come save the day.
No, surprisingly.
Because in Terminator 2, spoiler, how they defeat the machine, right?
Right. Yeah, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, because it's dragon fire. Nothing's hotter than dragon fire.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next bit of news here, and this was a really weird one, is that NBC is looking to make a Witchblade TV series. Now, do you know about Witchblade?
I don't, no.
So Witchblade is an anime, where this woman finds this device. It's like, kind of like armor almost, and it gives her these like powers to fight. I haven't seen it. My roommate Armando watched it our freshman year, and so he was just kind of in the room watching it, and I was like sitting like on my bed. I think I was playing Pokemon online most of the time he was watching it. But yeah, so that's all I really know about it, is that regular woman finds this thing, it like binds to her, kind of like the Omnitrix in Ben 10.
Okay.
And then she can use it to like get this magical armor that she uses to fight. So it's good. I've actually wanted to watch it myself for a while, just to know the whole thing. But yeah, they're looking into making a live action version of this, which is really quite out of nowhere. It's not a new anime by any means. And I guess it kind of lends itself to live action more than some anime. Like I couldn't imagine like a live action Digimon or yeah. So it's interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes. If it does look like it's promising, then I will have to watch the anime and then start watching it. But yeah. But I can't think of any. So comic book TV shows are really popular right now. I don't think we really need to go into that. But a live action adaptation of an anime TV show for a Western audience, I can't think of any. I mean, we've had movies, but even those are like usually dubbed in English. Like, obviously, Ghost in the Shell, that's a big exception there. But like, I know there was a Death Note live action movie, but that was Japanese. There have been, well, I guess there was the Dragon Ball. What was it called?
Like Evolutions.
Yeah, there we go.
Like
yeah, that was a thing.
Oh God.
We watched that trailer not too long ago for the Full Metal Alchemist movie. Yeah. So there have been, some stabs at it, but for a TV show, this is the first one that I can think of, and because I mean, anime it's definitely a lot more popular than it was, a decade ago. A lot more. I mean, I hate to say this, but like socially acceptable.
No, that's a fair way to say that. That's a totally fair way to say that. Yeah.
But even then, like most people like don't watch anime, so I don't know if they're gonna try to promote that it's based off of an anime, or kind of be like, hey, this is a thing that is kind of based off Japanese. Don't worry about it. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right. Next thing, and this is really weird because last week we talked about Sterling K. Brown. He was cast in Black Panther. We talked about Keegan-Michael Key. He was cast in The Predator. This week it was announced that Sterling K. Brown is going to be in The Predator. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know what to say to that. Just whoopee for him, more money.
Sure. Yeah.
I hope he survives by the end of it.
Yeah, so now all we need is for Key to get into the Black Panther, which we also joked about last week.
I know, right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So moving on. It was announced this week that there's going to be a Black Adam solo movie starring The Rock still. And this was, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, why are they talking about a Black Adam movie when we still don't know anything about Shazam?
Probably because of The Rock. I'm definitively sure just because it's Dwayne Johnson and it's just because it's him. And how is he gonna get money? You have Dwayne Johnson, might as well make another movie.
I guess.
And then throw him singing "You're Welcome," and then, which by the way I love that song from Moana. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only reason I could think about. I mean, I hope he does good. I mean, it's Dwayne Johnson. I don't want him to fail.
Yeah. So.
And he's been portrayed as an anti-hero by Adam in comics.
No, yeah.
So there is capacity for it to be at least an intriguing story, or like a story where you can see from his point of view.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Black Adam for a second. So there's the superhero Shazam.
Right.
And when he says the name of the wizard Shazam, he gets struck by lightning, and he's gifted with the powers of Greek gods. It's I don't know all of them. Like, it's like the strength of Hercules and like the speed of Hermes and the wisdom of Solomon and a bunch of other ones I don't remember. And this was a gift to him from the wizard Shazam. But before Shazam was given these powers, there was another hero that Shazam chose named Teth Adam, who was Egyptian. And when he says Shazam, he gets struck by lightning and is given the powers of Egyptian gods. So I would imagine that the Black Adam movie is a prequel backstory, origin story for Black Adam getting his powers. And like Brandon said, he was chosen because Shazam deemed him worthy of like becoming a hero. But after having his powers for so long, he was not corrupted. He became misguided about how he should use his powers. So he's not really evil per se. He's
a bit delusional and he sees things from a certain lens.
Yeah, kind of like Darth Vader almost.
Yeah, that's fair. So my point in saying all this is that The Rock did another movie about ancient Egypt, right?
The Scorpion King.
That's right.
And this is like a sequel to that almost.
Yeah, and he was in The Mummy too.
Yep.
So, harken back.
Okay. I guess I'm okay with this. Like, as long, I just want Shazam to come out and we'll see like, oh yeah, that was awesome. I want to see more of that before they say like, okay, let's bankroll this thing and have it
be a thing.
Yeah. Whatever. All right. Next bit of news here is that Sony Pictures is working on an animated Spider-Man movie featuring Miles Morales. So, the first thing to talk about here is that there's going to be an animated Spider-Man movie. Now, I didn't read the article, so I don't know if this is going to be a full feature-length theatrical release motion picture. My gut says it is, just because it's Sony Pictures working on it, not Disney XD or whatever to make it a TV movie. But I don't know. I would like to see that. I think an animated Spider-Man movie like in theaters would be cool. Or maybe it won't be cool because we're already getting Spider-Man: Homecoming. I blanked on the name for a second there. We're already getting that movie coming out in theaters, so I don't want there to be like Spider-Man oversaturation, but who knows?
I'm happy for this.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel animated movies aren't bad. They've just been okay.
Yeah.
So I hope this one does pretty well.
Yeah. And then Miles Morales. I don't know too much about him. He's from a different
universe.
Right, different universe than Peter Parker. He is half black, half Mexican, and he's got a cool blue suit. Like it's mostly blue with like red lines instead of like the other way around. It's
like bluish, blackish kind of thing.
Yeah. And he's a really popular character.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really into him. When they announced a reboot of the Spider-Man movies, a lot of people were calling for a Miles Morales portrayal instead of Peter Parker. Now, whether or not you think that's a good thing, that's a debate for another day, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's good to give people what they want, just not quite in the way they had hoped for. But I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
That's true. That's really true.
Okay, then the next thing to talk about is that an actor named James Frain was cast as Sarek on Star Trek Discovery, Sarek being the father of Mr. Spock. Now, we already know that this show is going to be taking place not in the cinematic, they call it the Kelvin timeline. It's the timeline of the current, most recent Star Trek movies. So that's cool. And I don't know what else to say, really. So let's see. James Frain, he was in Tron Legacy, Count of Monte Cristo, Reindeer Games, The Lone Ranger. He's on Orphan Black. He was on Gotham. So he's, done some pretty nerdy things. He was on Agent Carter, too. So, yeah. Spock's father, he was ambassador to Earth, and that's where he met Spock's mother, and they, got married and all that. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't know why we keep talking about this show, just
because you want news.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but neither of us are like super interested in it. It's just, I don't know. Okay, let's move on to our final news item of the week. The actress Karen Gillan, she plays Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. So she's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, or Volume 2, sorry. And she was talking about how there's going to be a lot more focus on her relationship with Gamora because they are stepsisters, or like adopted sisters.
But Gamora is the favorite.
Yes. But there's a lot of tension between them.
Because Gamora is the favorite.
And she also said that she's going to be making an appearance in Infinity War.
Okay.
Just like everybody else and their mother. So that's cool. If you like Nebula, I guess.
I mean, it does make sense for her to be in the movie because she does play a critical role in the story in the comics. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're going to go down that route, I don't think so, but they could. I don't know.
I don't know how closely they're sticking to the Infinity War storyline.
I doubt it's going to be close, but I'm sure they're going to have some references here and there to the story.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all the news for this week. And that means it is time for us to talk about American History X. So, spoiler warning right now, if you haven't watched it, I can't say I blame you. I still think you should watch it because it's a very it's a very powerful movie.
It's a very good movie.
It's really, really good movie.
Very good.
But if you don't want to watch, if you don't want to listen, I'll put timestamps in the description for when you can skip forward to. But yeah, American History X. This is I said when I announced it that this is a very gritty movie. Mm-hmm. I forgot how gritty, messed up this movie is.
So much is wrong in this movie. From like what's physically done to the philosophies that are discussed in this movie.
There's a ton of cursing.
Yeah, I forgot about
that. Yeah, I mean they start like they hit the ground running.
Yeah,
and they just
do.
like do not slow. Well, I guess there are a couple of slow moments, but it's really, really intense. So where do you want to start with this movie?
Let's if possible, let's go with what we didn't like.
Okay.
Because that's kind of how we always start with things.
Sure.
Believe it or not, I don't think I have that much I can say about what I didn't like about this movie.
Yeah, me neither.
Which is the first. I mean, yeah, I really don't know what I didn't like about this movie. Maybe the only thing that kind of like maybe was like to me was when you kind of find out like a little bit of the backstory about why Derek is the way he was. It's because
his dad.
Yeah, and then it's because of like the book that he got, and I mean, there's more like complexity to that, but like it's just the book that kind of set everything off. Which I mean, I guess it's not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, I've heard plenty of stories about stuff like that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I just. It's probably not even like I thought it was a bad story plot or storyline. I just thought maybe it's just because like such a simple thing caused so much trouble for that guy. Yeah, so it's not even like a dislike on the part of the film itself about the writer did something wrong or the story did something wrong. It's just like knowing something that simple was kind of like this cornerstone of what created Derek for the way he was.
Yeah, I don't have anything that I could really say negative about this movie. Obviously, the story is kind of a downer, but I don't know, it's not bad. Like, it's a very, very compelling story. What I found so enthralling about this movie this time around in particular is just how culturally relevant it is at this moment in time. More so,
this was released in 1998.
More so I've only seen this movie 2 times before, and it was back when I was in high school. And the message in it, both the positive messages and the negative messages, they just ring more true now than they ever did. Not only because I've grown up so much since the movie came, or since I watched it, and understand so much more about the world, but just the actual content of the movie is so much more relevant to what we talk about, because there's obviously racism and hate speech, and but also persecution of religion and persecution of police officers and firefighters. Those are all like super heavy themes in the world today, in America at least, and it's just really interesting to think about how this movie was sort of ahead of its time, but also still like this is, I guess I just didn't realize how much of an issue this has been for so long, because maybe I wasn't aware of it, or it's just not something that's really talked about that much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people have noticed with a lot of films that talk about this stuff, especially with racial tension. They've noticed that a lot of them were made during the 80s and the 90s, and that's during, I don't want to say it was during the hype, but that's still when like racial tensions were still like present.
Right.
Yeah, even like especially with the 70s. Like if you watch movies back from 70s and the 80s, that's like I think at its highest points. And yeah, this was made in the 90s, and even then, like
late 90s.
Yeah, I mean, then like during the 90s and 80s and the 90s, like there was a huge problem with gangs and like race wars and all that stuff. And yeah, you know that was a problem back then, and I think a lot of people want to believe that we've moved past that, but if you watch current events, even back to last year, you know that it's still a big problem in the country right now too. And even you can deny it as much as you want, like you can't escape the fact that this is going on, and you can choose to remain ignorant about it, but it's gonna be like this until something changes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that something is, but that's a huge problem for the movie. So maybe give him like a brief like overview of the movie itself.
Okay, so the movie centers around two brothers, Danny and Derek. And just quick side note, Brandon has the Wikipedia article pulled up right here, and just as I was looking over it, I realized that everyone in the family's names start with D. I just thought that was weird, but also cute, I guess.
For this family.
Yeah. But anyway, so the older brother is Derek, and when the movie takes place, not because the beginning starts with a flashback, but when the actual movie takes place, Derek just got out of jail after 3 years, and Danny is his younger brother who's still in high school, who basically idolizes his brother. He thinks he can't do anything wrong, so Derek is in jail for voluntary manslaughter. The movie starts off with they're at home. It's late at night, and somebody comes to steal Derek's truck. And Derek goes outside, kills somebody who's standing on the front porch, shoots another guy who's driving, but he gets away. And then one of them, who we find out later had prior beef with Derek, is the reason that their house was targeted. He shoots him, wounds him, and then curb stomps him.
Oh gosh, that scene. Every time, like no matter how many times I watch that scene, it's just
when I see him open his mouth and I hear that noise of his teeth on the curb, it just, it gives me, I shiver because it's so raw. Just like me, like putting myself in that situation, just thinking about my mouth on that curb is just horrifying. And that's definitely the most brutal thing that happens. But there's another scene that we can get to in a little bit that's also really disturbing. So anyway, so Derek is out of jail now. Danny's family, they come to pick him up, and as the day goes on, they're kind of going through their lives
and like catching up, or like finding out like what you've been doing these past couple of years.
So we find out that Derek was a neo-Nazi. His mentor's name was
Cameron.
Yeah, there we go. And he was his right-hand man, basically. He was, rallying the underlings to do their bidding and to commit hate crimes. There's another scene where they go into a grocery store who's owned by a Korean guy, and they mess up the place. There's a Hispanic woman who's working there.
No, you're right. Yeah, the Hispanic woman, and there's a few employees, but the woman in particular, they hold her down on the checkout counter, and they just start pouring stuff all over her. They don't physically hurt her other than holding her down. I'm sure that probably caused some bruising and stuff, but just thinking about how traumatic that was, because it looks like she's almost drowning in whatever it is they're pouring on top of her. I just can't, she would have to go to therapy for years for that, I'm sure. And the thing is that they claim that everyone who works there is undocumented, but we as the viewer, and they probably have no way of knowing that for certain. I mean, sure, they can assume that, but a racist would say that a Hispanic person is an undocumented immigrant, but how would you know that? I mean, same reasoning as to why it's okay to go attack a store and just do that to somebody.
Yeah. So Derek is very openly racist.
Yeah.
As our
his little rant thing that he did on TV.
Oh yeah. But that was before even he fully transitioned into this neo-Nazi.
You can see it's been harboring for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And later on, we get a flashback of him being in prison, and what really resonates with me in this movie, obviously the action scenes, well, as scarce as they are, they're easily the most memorable parts of the movie. But to see him in prison, to undergo the transformation that he does, to befriend a black guy, and to see what he's been doing with his life by meeting the other guys in the prison gang that he thinks he has in common. He finds out he has more in common with his partner than he does with these guys in the gang. And it's just a really...
I guess for me it was like a really jarring thing to see because you as a viewer know that it's wrong, but for him, like, this has been his world. Like, that's all he knows. And the minute he figures that out, that's probably like when he has, you know, a crisis of identity, because he realizes everything he's been told is not really true. That what he went to jail for, like, it was probably pointless. Like, yeah, he killed a guy, and, you know, for matters of like whether you accept that protecting your property or whatever, sanctity of life, you have to admit, like, whatever other crime he did before that, like, he realized like the reasoning for that was like it's been lost at that point.
Yeah. I forget what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, so he gets out of jail, and he's trying to kind of get his life back together, and the most important thing to him is to let his former gang associates know that he's done. Like, he doesn't want any part of that world anymore. He seems like he wants to, like, move away to kind of, you know, get a fresh start with his family.
He probably would have if he had the chance.
And as we see, that doesn't really work out very well for him.
I think the part that hit me, like, hard was realizing Danny's been part of it. I mean, you knew that was gonna happen, but when you see your little brother, like, knowing that he's gonna be stuck in this world of hate and violence. Yeah, I don't know, maybe because I have a little brother and that resonated with me. I'm sure it resonated with you too. Yeah, like, thinking about, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna save my brother?
Yeah. Another thing is that, you know, Derek, you know, despite all of his flaws, even before he goes to prison, it's very clear that he's a very intelligent person. Right. He has his arguments, which, you know, obviously are full of, you know, hateful things, but they are at least rational in some sense. Right. Not saying I agree with them, but, you know, he makes he makes his points not only well formed but also very charismatically. And so he's an intelligent person, but we see Danny, who's in school. We know that he's studious. He's good at writing, and so to see him take that and kind of throw it away, or he's in the process of throwing it away by joining these neo-Nazis, is also just really hard to watch, because you hate to think of all that wasted potential.
What surprised me was that how much the teacher or the principal was like, how much he was involved in the story, because I wasn't expecting that from the beginning.
Yeah, that's probably a little unrealistic. But, you know, it's a movie. So
but true. And then I still like, though, like, how he has some connection to this whole story, and he's trying to better Derek, and in a way, he's also trying to better Danny. Yeah, so, like, you see, like, he does it simultaneously with both of them, because he knows, like, if he can help one of them, he can help the other. Yeah. So, yeah, and then I guess going off of that, when he tries to tell his gang that he's not going to be connected anymore, that they all basically just turn against him.
Yeah. It's a very, I mean, I've never been part of a gang, but I would imagine that once you get into that world, it's very hard to leave.
Yeah. That's why there's so few of them.
Yeah. But I don't know.
And then I guess what happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah. So towards the beginning of the movie, we see a minor confrontation with Danny and this other kid at his school. So Danny's in the bathroom. He's smoking. Shame on him. But these 3 black kids come into the bathroom beating up on this white kid who just... this is just a funny side note. Robin and I are watching Malcolm in the Middle right now, just kind of like a couple episodes a night just to pass the time. And the oldest brother in that show, his name is Francis,
Right.
and that is the kid who they were beating up on.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh god, I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, no, he looks a lot younger. But yeah, so these 3 black kids, they're beating up on this kid. I don't know if he ever gets a name, but Danny comes out of the stall and they say something to him like, what are you going to do? They're trying to threaten him, and he's just, very, very nonchalantly, really like relaxed about it all. He just kind of walks up to him and kind of stares down the leader of the 3. He blows some smoke in his face, and then they walk away. Because the bell rings. He says, I got to go to class, which I find it hard to believe that that's what he really cares about.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he just really, really wanted to go to class.
Maybe.
Or maybe there's a girl there he wants to go to class. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Just you'd be surprised about the power of the bell.
Sure. But anyway.
Like how the teacher says, bell doesn't dismiss you. I do.
So yeah, and then later after school gets out, that same kid, he's hanging out at a basketball court with presumably his gang members, and Danny goes over there. He's standing by a fence and just kind of staring at him, and then he walks away. And then later that night, the kid and a couple other people, they drive by his house kind of staking it out. And then at the very end of the movie, so let me back up really quickly. At the beginning of the movie, Danny gets called into the principal's office, and because he wrote a paper about Mein Kampf. If you don't know, Mein Kampf was a book written by Hitler, talking about his time when he was in prison. Mein Kampf is German for my struggle, and so he used that as a book report stating why Hitler was a civil rights leader. And his teacher, who we find out later in the movie is Jewish, he was not happy about that. And he took it to the principal. And then the principal, Mr. Sweeney, Dr. Sweeney, he says that from now on, he's going to be his history teacher. And he assigns him to write this paper about his brother, Derek. So, he writes the paper late at night. He brings it in the morning, and before he goes to the principal's office, he uses the restroom. And as he gets done, he turns around and the kid shoots him. Shoots him twice in the chest. Danny dies. Probably didn't even have a chance to zip up his pants. Falls into a stall he just urinated in, and he's dead. And that's like the worst death I could think of.
What about Ned Stark?
Nope, that's definitely worse. No, not Ned. I mean, Danny's death is definitely worse than Ned's.
No, I meant like dying like Ned Stark. Whatever. Anyways, I knew that was coming. Like that scene was coming, but I think what just destroyed it for me was when Derek finds out.
Yeah,
that part is just.
And see, for me, that scene is the way it ends. Robin, I watched the movie with Robin. She hated the way it ends because she thought it didn't bring any.
Doesn't she hate everything?
More or less.
I feel like she hates everything.
She just didn't think it brought any resolution. And while she's kind of right, I don't think there needed to be any resolution.
I don't see like the way that the story was told could have been.
Yeah.
Like ended in such a way.
Yeah. But for me, what I've always wondered is about what happens after that. Does Derek, does he fall back into his old ways because, a person of color whom he, up until very recently, despised, killed his little brother? Is that going to, trigger his anti-race inclinations again, or is he going to, be the bigger man and realize this didn't have anything to do with race? It was a senseless act of violence, and that's another thing. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So Derek, I've always wondered how he would turn out after this movie if we got to see more of it.
I don't know. That's a very good question. The optimist in me wants to say that he just has to bear it in his heart and he just like carries it with him, but I didn't even think about that. Like that's true. That's never like really talked about or resolved. It's like he could have possibly very well gone back to his old ways. Mm-hmm. But then again, like he would probably have to do it like on his own, or he had to find a new gang because his old gang wouldn't take him back in.
True. Another thing is that they never really establish a reason why this kid. I don't even know if he has a name.
Yeah, apparently his name was like Little Henry or something like that.
Okay.
That's what the article says.
Okay. So I don't know. They never really establish a reason why this kid decides to kill him. It might have been a gang initiation kind of thing, but that's the most plausible reason I can think of, really, because other than that, Danny didn't do anything to him, really. I mean, I guess in the beginning when he blows smoke in the face, like that could be seen as a sign of disrespect, but I mean, killing him seems like really escalating the situation, which I know is kind of the point of the movie, but I mean, still.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just another thing that it's not a bad thing about the movie. It's just kind of, I wish they had maybe established that reason more. Do you want to talk about the scene, the dinner scene with the mom and her boyfriend?
Sure. Yeah.
So, what's the teacher's name?
The one that he did the book report on?
Yeah.
Mr. Murray?
Oh, yeah. So that's the father of Ross and Monica on Friends, which I always thought was a weird thing. So I guess we didn't really talk about this. Before the events of the movie, their father dies. He was a firefighter. He got called to a fire at a reported drug den, and while he was putting out the fire, he was shot. Now I don't know if this is like a common occurrence in real life. I've never heard of it before, so I don't know why they would try to shoot somebody other than if the fire gets put out and the police move in, that they could arrest people for it. But I don't know.
I forget, was he targeted or was he just caught in the crossfire?
I don't know if they ever say. I mean, who would they be shooting at if he was caught in the crossfire?
I don't know. Maybe a drug deal gone bad, something like that.
Maybe.
I'm only assuming. I don't remember. That part's a little bit fuzzy for me.
So a few years later, right before Derek gets sent to jail, she's dating a guy who happens to be a teacher at their high school that Danny goes to, and they get into this conversation about the Rodney King riots. Now, this was before I was alive. I don't know too much about it, but a really brief synopsis is that Rodney King was driving down the highway at dangerous speeds, and he was stopped by the police somehow, and he was dragged out of his car and beaten by the police. And there were charges of police brutality, and all of the police officers were not convicted. And as a result, there were really, really horrible riots in Los Angeles. That there was tons of property destruction, and it was just not a pretty scene. And so their dinner conversation kind of turned onto this subject, and it escalated really quickly. Yeah. It started out as a conversation that kind of turned into a argument, that turned into a really heated argument, that turned into just a series of name calling, really. Derek calling the guy names in the end because he's Jewish. I said that earlier. And he just starts calling him all these really horrible names. And it was not only that, like, he takes his sister, he starts like trying to force feed her food because she's being disrespectful, and it just shows how, more than anything really, like more than the in my opinion, more than the grocery store scene, more than the curb stomping scene, that scene where he turns on his own family in a fit of anger shows what a really terrible and angry and misguided person he is. And it's just hard to watch. And you see this guy's face. He never raises his voice. He never gets angry at Derek for the words he uses. He just has this look of shock and sadness for this kid who harbors all of this anger in his heart. And he walks out of the house and he just says to the mom, he says, "I'm sorry, but I can't be with you when your son is like this." And the mom, she's really upset. Yeah. And later that night is when the whole curb stomping thing happens. And oh man,
I know.
That's a scene.
You get chills by talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. The only other thing that I want to talk about is neo-Nazism in real life.
Okay.
So this term alt-right has become a popular thing in I don't remember hearing it before 2016. Maybe it started before that. And I have seen posts about it on Facebook, like pages that are so quote unquote alt-right, and the language that they use in these posts and whatever, they write these articles, they have these inflammatory Facebook dialogues, if you want to call them that. A lot of them are just memes when you really get down to it. A lot of the rhetoric used in that is strikingly similar to what we hear in this movie. And it, like, I had heard people say that the alt-right is just a like quote unquote politically correct term for neo-Nazism. I'd heard that before. I knew that intellectually, but it didn't click for me until I read this, or until I watched this movie again, how similar they really are. Now, I haven't seen any of these. Okay, I should say that I'm not, actively looking at these Facebook posts. They just pop up on my feed because, people that I'm friends with kind of maybe sympathize with some of these Facebook groups. I'm not passing judgment on any of them, but that is a thing, and I don't agree with it, but whatever. I haven't any of these Facebook posts that I read because I'm curious to see what they say and how ridiculous their line of reasoning is. So I read some of these posts every once in a while, and I haven't seen any of them say, "Hey, we should go destroy this grocery store because it's owned by a Korean guy." Like, I haven't seen any active calls for violence, but short of that, a lot of the anti-immigrant sentiment is almost ripped straight out of this movie. And that was, while the visuals and stuff, the murder and the rape and all of that stuff that we didn't talk about that,
which is probably for the best.
All of that is very memorable, but to have that real life personal connection really hit home for me. And it's sad to think about how prevalent and almost acceptable it is to have these thoughts. It is. So, Brandon, do you have any thoughts on this or other matters that we haven't talked about yet?
Whenever I have to talk about stuff like this or hear about it, whether it be for diversity training or just in a history class, I don't know. I can't help but just get really upset, I guess. It's for a number of reasons. Like, one, like, you should never treat another person that way because, you know, you're taking away from the dignity of that other person. And two, I guess maybe it's due to the fact that I come from two minorities, and I know that, you know, that you get a lot of flack for that. And, you know, I can't talk here and say that, you know, oh, I marched in a protest, or I did a sit-in, or I did anything like that. Like, I've never come close to doing anything like that in my life, but I have had my own, like, I guess, little racial encounters here and there, and for the most part, they're humorous. There's only ever one incident where, I guess, well, no, in looking back, that incident was kind of funny, but yeah, when you're in the moment though, and you're being called those names, and I had the most mild form. I just got name calling. You know, like, even then, that's just degrading. And I know, like, we talk about when, you know, people talk about, like, different forms of experiencing, like, this kind of prejudice. Like, they say, oh, you just gotta call names, that's fine. And yeah, you know, yeah, maybe I wasn't physically assaulted, but, you know, you took away from, like, who I was.
Right.
And I don't know, it just, yeah, it bothers me that this is still an issue after how many years at this point that we still have to discuss, and not even discuss as a thing of, like, the past. We had to discuss about it, like, in future terms. That's just, I don't know, it boggles my mind at that point, because we want to say that in the 21st century we're so sophisticated and advanced, and we've risen above, you know, uncivilized tendencies, but
not even close.
Looking at this, like, can we really even argue with that? I mean, I don't know. It's just, yeah, like what you said just right now, like, about that whole thing. That's, yeah, you're right. And again, what this movie has done is that it's clicked in my mind in ways that I wasn't expecting it to click. And I honestly didn't. Yeah, I think you're right when you said that this movie was made ahead of its time, even though it probably wasn't expecting that. And I guess it just goes to show you that, I mean, just as people, like, how much we still have to grow as people, because I feel like it's gonna take, I don't know, we probably won't see any resolution in our lifetime. That's what I feel like. And that's a really, like, bleak thing to say, but ideologies aren't changed, you know, in one's lifespan. Like, just for example, just because, you know, his celebration passed, Dr. Martin Luther King, like, he had to die for what he believed in, and then it took how many years to get to that point, and then even now it's still confusing and messed up and all that. And then when you take into everything, you take into account immigration and people seeking asylum, and not even in our country, in every other country around the world where people are fleeing, like in the Syria conflict, people are trying to find refuge from that. I don't know. It just, I didn't think that at 21 years, not 21 anymore, 22 years old, that I would have to sound like a 77-year-old man, like, looking back on the days of, like, this is what happened and this is what's going on and my world is in turmoil. Just because we can't get along.
It does seem like a very bleak picture when you lay it all out like that, and it's I mean, we're not the people to, you know, spark some sort of social change or anything. It's not this is not the platform for that. I don't think we meant to go this political.
No.
I think it was kind of unavoidable, but but it is a conversation that needs to be had, and to some extent is being had in our country right now, just maybe not in the most productive ways.
I think so,
I don't know what else we can say about it without, going into all of the... Still talking about the movie and not talking about what we're experiencing in life right now.
I think the only way we can end this on a good note is just reminding of Derek's redeeming quality when he was in prison. When he realizes that, again, he realized that what he's believed his whole time has been flawed. And he understands that. Yeah,
he was the most hardened, the most committed of the neo-Nazis. And with a few years, just a couple short years, experiencing what he experienced, befriending someone who was truly kind and generous towards him with no, racial prejudice, he was able to see the error of his thinking. And while that's not going to work for everybody, for some people, because he was forced into that situation. If he hadn't been sent to prison, that never would have happened. And so some people would never willingly put themselves in those situations. But, if you open yourself to, thinking about if your way of thinking is right or wrong, maybe you can see the light, as it were. Well, let's move on, shall we? We don't have any emails this week. Again, I don't blame people for not wanting to watch this movie. Brandon and I both agree this is a really great movie, and the message is very relevant right now. But there's also, you have to deal with a lot to get to those gems, and I get that it's not for everybody. So we don't have any thoughts on this movie. But you can, if you watch it later on, you want to let us know what you thought about it. Our email address is abcpodcast92@gmail.com. You don't just have to talk about movies. You can tell us comments, questions, suggestions, or anything else you want. Just shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. But that does bring us to our final segment for the night, which is the ABC's... No.
I was waiting for it.
You threw me off. No, it's our Fan Fic Fights. Anyway, so this week we are going to have...
At least you caught yourself.
Yes. We're going to have Rayquaza versus Slifer the Sky Dragon.
Is that the Pokemon?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I know either of these.
Oh, really? So. That's not good because I don't have a backup. So I have graciously allowed Brandon to choose Slifer because he doesn't know much about Rayquaza, and fortunately, I know lots about Rayquaza.
Even giving me this, I only remember the basic premise of Slifer.
Sorry, I guess I underestimated your nerdiness.
I'm sorry I don't compartmentalize every little detail from everything I've ever seen in my life.
Really? Because you sure knew a lot about the Arbiter off the top of your head.
Yeah, but that's only because I played it so many times. I've only seen this story arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe 3 times. I don't even remember. Only 3 times, right?
Anyway, you went first last week?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so I'll go first. So Rayquaza is a legendary Pokemon. It is a dragon flying type introduced in the 3rd generation of games. It was on the box art of the Emerald version, which was the 3rd version after Ruby and Sapphire. So Rayquaza is what's known as a trio master over the other 2 Pokemon from the 2 box art legendaries from Ruby and Sapphire, Groudon and Kyogre. So Groudon is a ground type, and he has the ability to summon intense sunlight, which is supposed to dry up all the water. And Kyogre is a water type Pokemon, which has the ability to summon torrential rainstorms to cover up the land. And Rayquaza's ability is to negate all weather effects, thereby taking away the majority of the power of, or the weather-inducing powers, at least, of both of the other Pokemon. So it can, in that sense, calm the storm and bring peace to the land, if you want to think about it that way. So Rayquaza is a very fast Pokemon. He's a dragon type. It is based on the Japanese dragon, as opposed to like the European dragon style. European dragons is like Smaug is a good example of like the four-legged with like the wings on the back and
well,
stuff.
actually, for another discussion, Smaug is apparently like a different type of like, it's like a wyvern, or I think that's how you pronounce it.
Wyvern,
whatever the hell you call it.
Okay. Then,
well, that's how he's modeled off, but even though he's still a dragon, and that a wyvern is still technically a type of dragon.
Okay.
But I know what you mean, like 4 legs, then it has like
the wings on the back, as opposed to a Japanese dragon. It just kind of floats in the air. It doesn't have wings. If you're familiar with American dragon Jake Long, the grandpa is a Japanese dragon.
Or Shenron.
Yeah, there you go. That's another good one. So anyway, so he doesn't have wings, but he can fly around. So he's very fast, very mobile. He's also incredibly strong. He has base 150 in both of his attacking stats. For just to get a little nerdy on you, so he has moves to, he can like fire elemental blasts out of his mouth and all that good stuff, and can do physical attacks too. He can like cause earthquakes and do dragon claw where he powers up his claws and slashes you and all that stuff.
I would have guessed.
But beyond that, he also has a Mega Evolution. Now, Mega Evolution was a mechanic introduced in the 6th generation of games, and Rayquaza is a extra special Megalo Evolution because while most Pokemon require holding a Mega Stone in order to Mega Evolve, Rayquaza doesn't need that. He only needs to know a move called Dragon Ascent, which will then allow him to Mega Evolve. So he gets the added bonus of being able to carry an item in battle to increase his power or whatever the trainer decides to have the Rayquaza carry. So that's an added benefit. So not only does his design become cooler, he gets these like cool like head axe things on him, on his head. He gets way bigger. He's got these like wavy banner things, and not banners, they're like streamers, I guess. I don't know what to call them. Anyway,
it's so terrifying.
And not only does he become bigger and more terrifying looking, he also gets boosts in power and speed, so he becomes more threatening and a more potent attacker. So Rayquaza is super powerful, super fast, looks awesome, and he's just like really cool and strong, and he would win.
Okay, so for my pick, Slifer the Sky Dragon. First of all, I want to start off this argument by saying screw you, Alex, because like what the hell, man? But that's second point I'd like to make. So Slifer, now I cannot speak for the later generations of Yu-Gi-Oh, but from what I understand, that Slifer is considered to be one of the most powerful of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, up to my knowledge at that point. I obviously, knowing the way that these things work, that's probably negated by the later generations. But for the sake of this argument, he is one of the strongest, as far as my limited knowledge knows, of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He is an Egyptian god card. So, in order to summon him, you must offer a sacrifice to him. And I guess that goes off to show you like how much of a significant power he is, which is also a drawback, but that's fine. I carry cards all the time off the wazoo, so I'll just like throw some cards out. And it probably doesn't even have to be Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'll probably throw some Pokemon cards out there of crap. What's in it? What? Rayquaza. Yeah.
Yeah. Just 1 second. In the anime, well, I guess in the movie specifically, they call him Rayquaza. Now, most people take the anime/movies to be like the canonical pronunciations, but it's Rayquaza. So
Rayquaza. Okay, so yeah, I'll probably throw like 3 Rayquaza cards. I just said it the wrong way. Right there and be like, yeah, boom. I was so Slifer at that point. This is such a bad argument. But on top of that, so what I remember from Slifer is that he is, for the most part, Storm Elemental. So he has the power over like weather and storms. On top of that, and I remember if I remember correctly, that primarily most of his attacks were like dealt with like lightning, or he used the weather to his advantage. Now, from what I remember through my infallible recall, is that every time like a move ended, you could draw cards, and that would add on to Slifer's like abilities or something like that. I don't think remember. What was it? Do you remember? Yeah, just go ahead and tell me.
So I don't know why I'm helping you with your argument.
Maybe because the fact that this is such a bad argument, it's not even an argument at this point.
Slifer's has a variable power, like
Yeah.
his attack power is like question marks. His attack power is 100 times the number of cards in your hand.
I thought it was no. I mean, you're right with that. I thought he had a.
Or maybe it's 1,000 attack.
Yeah, well, whatever you say. This is such a bad argument you made. Did you honestly think that Slifer was gonna win this one?
Yeah.
How? Like besides,
I'm not gonna tell
you.
you
Besides
more.
that, and like, I'm trying to think of what else he can do. Like, I don't freaking know. That's honestly like all I got. Like, I don't know what else he has besides, his power capabilities, and then like you said, like however many cards you hold, like it boosts. Like, I'm pretty sure it's his power, right? And probably his defense at the same time.
I'm not sure about that one.
I would assume, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's just power. Either way, though, I mean, let's say we just throw the card stats and mumbo jumbo out of this, okay? Honestly, in the fight, I think Slifer would win because, first of all, he's an Egyptian god. Now, I do say that it has to hold something. Like Rayquaza and his Mega Form, like, what status are they in Pokemon? Because I kind of blacked out when I was like trying to form an argument.
He's a legendary.
So he's a legendary. Yeah. So he's powerful like than most Pokemon at that point. So I said that's a pretty good evenly match at that point, especially with like Serpentine like dragon forms. They probably just like cross the sky and like probably turn the Earth into oblivion at that point. And in his Mega Evolution, I think he just poses as a greater threat to Slifer. But I do think Slifer like he takes invisibility, if not for like his abilities. And his just, I'm going to assume durability just as an Egyptian god. And it's probably for his second mouth. Because like in the middle of the fight, he can just probably open his second mouth and just kind of like nibble on the top of like his head and like distract him. And then he just he uses that opening to defeat. Of all the matches we've had, you give me this.
Okay, so I guess I made a mistake. Maybe this wasn't my greatest thought out one ever. I still think that probably our least interesting one was Raphael versus Electra. I feel like we were just kind of not into that one. This one was at least kind of funny. That one we were just kind of like, I don't really know. But anyway,
I guess
if you somehow had an opinion on this fight, please let us know. Send us an email.
Or just let us know that you thought this was funny. Like, honestly, like, even though I couldn't make a very good argument, I still thought this is really funny to do. And maybe we should just have more like these. Just like have like more like where one of us doesn't know how to fight with the other one. Okay. We just try to like do our best to scramble with whatever facts we can get.
Okay, I can see what I can arrange.
How about I pick the next one?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be first. Okay, yeah.
I've had some in my back pocket that I've been meaning to try out.
Okay. Anyway, so again, if you want to email us, that address is apcpodcast92@gmail.com, and we would really love to hear from you. But that is it for this week's show.
I thought this was a good way to end it after American History X.
True, yeah.
This is...
Yeah, maybe...
I'm a little bit more lighter now.
Yeah, maybe we were just like so depressed that anything would be funny after that. Anyway, before we get out of here, we need to plug our social media. Don't want to forget to do that again.
Oh, yeah, because they totally stay for this part.
You can follow me on Twitter at AtariAlex. You can find Brandon's Twitter handle in my Twitter bio because his Twitter name is too hard to pronounce by mortal men. While you're there...
Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I like that.
While you're there, you can find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages. You can subscribe to both so you never miss an episode. And we would also really appreciate it if you could leave us an iTunes review. And if you've listened to this again, thank you. I'm sorry to do it twice, but we need to have it in there for average of every episode, so I forgot to do it last week. Anyway.
Or maybe we could just like pre-record ourselves and just like plug it in just like that.
Maybe. Anyway, that's it for this week. I don't have anything else to say. Brandon, do you have anything? Any words of wisdom?
Any words of wisdom? they don't even listen to what I have to say, like, for the most part.
Oh, come on. You don't know that. No one ever gives us any feedback.
Maybe. I have been told by some people who listen that they think I'm just, like, really salty all the time. Which, I mean, it's not wrong. And they're like, I think... great. Okay, one last tangent. So, I think they were listening to the Age of Ultron one, and then they're just hearing me talk crap about some people, or, like, maybe just, like, during the duration of that episode, I was just talking crap about everything, and they thought it was funny. They just thought, like, wow, you're really salty. I'm like, what can I say? I live for the salt. I like my fries extra salty.
Well, that is the best way to have them.
I actually really don't like them extra salty. I like them with extra ketchup.
My man.
Ketchup, #1 condiment.
True.
My man.
Anyway, yeah, so thank you all for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.